Resourceful Designer, episode 312, 8 Uses for Page Redirects.
Welcome to the Resourceful Designer podcast, offering solutions to streamline your graphic and web design business so you can get back to designing. And now, your host. His favorite Ninja Turtle is Leonardo because he's the one who wields swords. Mark Dickhout.
I mean, they're all great, aren't they? But I do have a sword collection after all, and that puts Leonardo a bit higher in my mind. Hey, hit me up. Let me know who your favorite Ninja Turtle is. Anyway, in this episode of Resourceful Designer, I want to talk about page redirects and the powerful ways you can use them. And even if you're a veteran web designer, or if you don't do web design at all, you may still find this information valuable. Whether you work on websites or you just have a website yourself, you should know the power of the page redirect. But before I get to that, I just want to talk briefly about the Resourceful Designer community. We've got a lot of great conversations going on in there. Some new members are getting to know the community, asking for help, communicating. There are so many different channels with so many different topics for people to discuss. We're having lots of conversation about the new AI art and all that entails when it comes to design and everything, and different uses that people are putting it to. We also talk a lot about websites and a lot of critiques going on lately, some great logos that people are putting out and other designs, asking for opinions and help, and wow, it is such a great place to be. And of course, the new weekly accountability groups are going strong. People are coming up with some great weekly goals, and everybody is, holding each other accountable. That's the whole point of the group. Nobody wants to disappoint, so it helps you push yourself forward and get the things you want to get done. And the conversation, when people say they have a goal, others are asking, how are you going to accomplish that? And helping to not just encourage, but give advice and offer help and all sorts of stuff. So I love this community. It's probably my proudest thing that I've done with Resourceful Designer, and I would love for you to be a part of it. Now, there is a 50 member limit, which means once I reach 50 members, I will close it off and nobody else can join. So to make sure you get your spot, please visit resourcefuldesigner.com/community to find out all about it and to consider joining. We would love to have you. And now, 8 uses for page redirects. I know, it sounds boring, right? I mean, how much can one really talk about page redirects? I mean, all they do is, as the name implies, is redirect one web page to another. End of story. Well, not so fast. Yes, page redirects do redirect one web page to another, but there's a lot more power to them that you may not have thought of. When used correctly, page redirects can help attract clients, they can show authority, they can help strengthen a website, they could even steal visitors from the competition. You heard me right. Yes, there is so much more to the lowly page redirect than what it lets on. And maybe you can put one of these ideas to use for yourself. Now, the first use for a page redirect is to redirect alternate domain extensions. Now, this one is pretty common. You use a page redirect to redirect one web page to another, and those two pages don't necessarily have to be the same domain. In fact, page redirects can be used to redirect one domain to another. And the best use of this is domain extensions. For example, I live in Canada, and many businesses here use the .ca extension for their domain. It's actually highly encouraged, especially for businesses that deal exclusively in Canada. Show your Canadian pride and use a .ca extension. But we all know that .com is the most popular domain extension in the world. When in doubt, if you're unsure, most people will try the .com first. That's why I always recommend to my clients that they purchase multiple domains, including the .ca and the .com. Then, using a redirect, they can send people who type in the .com domain to the website with the .ca extension, or vice versa. If they want to use the .com, then they can redirect the .ca. Now, the good thing about this is it prevents someone else from registering one of the other extensions and competing with them. So somebody that has the .ca extension doesn't want somebody else to register the .com and have a different website that may be leeching some of their clients. So whenever I have a client or for myself, I try to register as many of the extensions as I can. Now, number 2 is to redirect alternate spellings or misspellings. Alternate spellings or misspellings are also an excellent use for redirects. For example, let's say a food truck business called Two Brothers in a Food Truck. They want a website. Well, due to the possibility of mistyping their name, they may want to register multiple domains. They may want Two Brothers in a Food Truck with the number 2 at the beginning, Two Brothers in a Food Truck with the TWO at the beginning, and they may even want Two Brothers in a Food Truck with TOO at the beginning, just in case somebody types it in that way. And of course, they can get the .coms and the .cas if they're in Canada, the .nets, or whatever they want, the multiple extensions. And then they can pick which one of these domains they want to use and redirect the others. If they want to have the number 2 as their main domain, then redirect the TWO Brothers in a Food Truck and the TOO Brothers in a Food Truck. Those two .coms could be redirected to the number 2 Brothers in a Food Truck.com. Here's another example. Let's say your name is Sean Johnson and you start a business called Sean Johnson Consulting. While talking to people, you tell them to visit your website at seanjohnsonconsulting.com. But how do you spell that? Is Sean spelled SHAWN? Or is it SEAN? What about Johnson? Is that Johnson without the T, or is it Johnston with a T? It can get very confusing. Now, you can just spell it out every time you say it. That's Sean, SHAWN, and it's Johnson with no T. But there's no guarantee that someone else will spell it out when they refer you to another person. The better option is to register multiple spellings and redirect them to the correct spelling. So if your name is Sean Johnson, SHAWN, and Johnson with no T, then register SEAN and Johnson with no T and SEAN and Johnson with a T and have them redirect to the other one so that no matter how somebody spells it, they will end up on the proper website. Now, number 3 is to redirect an old site to a new site. Redirects are extremely useful when building a new website, either under the same or a different domain. Now, every website will accumulate what those of us in the industry like to call Google Juice. Yes, we use Google because they're the largest search engine. Well, Google Juice is a way to measure the SEO, the search engine optimization power of a website. The more Google Juice it has, the better in the search rankings a website or a web page will achieve. Well, when building a new website or changing a website's domain, you don't want to lose that accumulated Google Juice and start again from scratch. So if you're changing a page's URL, you want to create a 301 redirect that tells the search engines that the old page is no more and they should now assign its Google Juice to the new page. For example, Franklin and Barton Law Office may have the URL franklinandbartonlaw.com. Well, say Barton gets married and changes her name to, Jackson. She wants to change the company name to Franklin and Jackson Law Office, and they register the domain franklinandjacksonlaw.com. Well, changing the domain on the website is actually pretty easy to do. But if they don't want to lose their current search engine rankings, they need to redirect every page URL from that site or from the old site to the new one. And that means franklinandbartonlaw.com/about for their about page now needs to redirect to franklinandjacksonlaw.com/about. franklinandbartonlaw.com/service redirects to franklinandjacksonlaw.com/service. Same thing with the contact pages and every page on the website. This ensures that the new domain, franklinandjacksonlaw.com, retains the power of the old domain, because adding the 301 redirect tells the search engines that this old page no longer exists now pass all the power you used to give to that page, all the authority, over to this new page. And you do that with a page redirect. Now, number 4 is to redirect to shorten a URL. We all know that the shorter something is, the easier it is to remember, let alone tell somebody about it. The same goes for a URL. The longer it is, the harder it is to remember. For example, I could tell you that the show notes for this episode of the podcast can be found at resourceful-designer.com/8-uses-for-redirects-RD312. That is the actual URL for this episode. Or I can use a redirect and tell you that the show notes can be found at resourcefuldesigner.com/episode 312. Which one do you think is easier to remember? Or easier for me to say, for that matter? And that's a great use for a redirect. And it's not only for super long URLs. The URL for the design resource page on Resourceful Designer is resourcefuldesigner.com/design_resources. But I also have a redirect set up so that I can say resourcefuldesigner.com/resources. I'm only eliminating one word, the word design, but it makes it so much easier for me to share. By the way, that page that I just mentioned is where I list the various design-related tools and resources that you can use for your business. Go check it out if you haven't already. Now, number 5 is to use redirects when sending somebody off-site. Instead of giving somebody a different URL, whether it's in an email or verbally or whatever, create a redirect on your domain, which will get them to where they want to go while also strengthening your brand. For example, are you interested in joining the Resourceful Designer Facebook group? I could tell you to visit facebook.com/groups/resourcefuldesigner, but that's wordy and it's sending you directly away. I'm telling you to go to Facebook. But instead, I have a redirect set up. And I can tell you that if you want to join, go to resourcefuldesigner.com/group. Yes, both of those methods will take you to Facebook. But the second one, you subconsciously associate the destination with my domain, which is never a bad thing. Because I'm telling you to visit resourcefuldesigner.com/group, you're associating the Facebook group with Resourceful Designer. Even though you know where you're going, it's a subconscious thing. It strengthens the brand. resourcefuldesigner.com gets put into your mind. And that can only benefit me. Now, number 6 is to use redirects for affiliate links. Now, I do this all the time. An affiliate link is a special URL that, when used, informs the destination of where you came from for them to pay you a commission. For example, I'm an affiliate of Logo Package Express. It's an amazing Adobe Illustrator plugin that makes it extremely efficient to package up logos to hand off to clients. And by the way, if you haven't tried version 3, what are you waiting for? It's so much better than version 2, which was already a great product to begin with. Well, the link you need to use for me to receive a commission on the sale is long and complicated. It's full of numbers and dashes and symbols, making it hard for me to share or to tell you about, and very easy to get wrong if you had to type it. That's why I created a redirect at resourcefuldesigner.com/LPE20. Now, not only does that take you to the Logo Package Express purchase page where you can buy it, but that link also gives you 20% off your purchase price. And you should create redirects for all your affiliate links. Want to try another one? Try using resourcefuldesigner.com/Amazon. It redirects you to Amazon's website. And if you make a qualifying purchase while there, I earn a commission on the sale. So anytime you have any sort of partnership or affiliate or anything like that, instead of sending somebody directly to the website, create a redirect on your own website and send them there. Again, subconsciously, by using my link to visit Amazon, you're associating resourcefuldesigner.com with your purchase, which strengthens my brand. Now, number 7, redirect the competition. At the beginning of this episode, I mentioned how you could use redirects to steal clients from the competition. Now, back in tip number 1, I talked about redirecting different domain extensions. In tip number 2, I talked about redirecting different spellings. And in tip number 3, I talked about redirecting old sites to new one. Well, you can combine these 3 methods to steal clients from the competition. I've helped several of my clients do this with great success. For example, let's say you're creating a website for a new local Mexican restaurant. Well, there are 2 other Mexican restaurants in town your client is directly competing with. Well, you can check to see if these competing Mexican restaurants registered all the possible domain extensions. You can also check to see if there are domains available with alternative spellings or misspellings available. If so, you can help your client register these domains and redirect them back to your client's website. This way, should someone looking for the competitor's website type the URL wrong, either by putting in the wrong extension or possibly misspelling the word, there's a chance that they end up on your client's website instead and decide to give them a try. Now, I've done this for several clients over the years and have tracked hundreds of visitors landing on my clients' websites using these quote-unquote wrong links. It does work. And as for old websites, if a competitor closes for whatever reason or rebrands, you could either ask to purchase their old domain name, or you can wait for it to expire and then register it yourself. Then redirect it to your website and add their Google Juice to your website. I helped the client with this as well. When a client's competitor decided to go out of business, it was a local clothing retail store. When they went out of business, my client approached them at my suggestion and offered to pay him $200 for the domain name. The client was going out of business. They didn't need their website anymore, so they sold the domain for $200. Then my client created 301 redirects from all the various pages on the client's website or the competition's website, pointing back to his website. So he got the Google Juice, and anybody that may have linked to that other website or had it bookmarked or anything like that, anytime they check it, they would end up on my client's website instead of the old website. Now, number 8 is create authority using redirects. And this one here I want you to pay attention to. Redirects are great help when it comes to networking. And we all know that networking is very important when it comes to building our businesses, any business. Networking is crucial. Word of mouth is the biggest method for attaining new clients as designers. And believe it or not, redirects can help you do this. I want you to imagine these 2 scenarios. Scenario number 1, you're at a networking event and a new entrepreneur who's in the startup process asks you if you know a business lawyer. Well, you mention Beth Jackson from Franklin & Jackson Law Office, and you give them the domain franklinandjacksonlaw.com for them to contact her. Great. Now, scenario number 2, you're at a networking event and a new entrepreneur asks you if you know a business lawyer. You mention Beth Jackson from Franklin & Jackson Law Office. Then you hand them your business card, point to your web address, and tell them to visit yourdomain.com/law, which will redirect them to Beth's website. Now, which of these 2 scenarios sounds more genuine? Which one comes off as the better referral? I hope you're thinking the second one. In the first scenario, the person you're talking to has no idea about your relationship with this lawyer. For all they know, you've never dealt with them before. You've only heard about them, but don't know if they're any good or not. And the only reason you're sharing their name is because you don't want to feel stupid when they ask you if you know a lawyer. But in the second scenario, having a link on your own website that redirects to this lawyer's website shows the person you're talking to that you're confident in this lawyer's skills. And they're much more likely to trust your opinion and your recommendation of her because of this. Now, you can do this with lawyers, with accountants, with any professional or service that you may recommend. It establishes you as an authority by sharing a redirect link from your website. And it has the added benefit of keeping your brand front of mind as they're going. If you don't share the lawyer's website, but you say go to my website /law, again, subconsciously, that person is remembering your website. And they realize if they do like what they see at the law office, they'll associate it more with you, which will increase their trust in you. So anytime you want to share something that, even if it has nothing to do with your business, if it's something that you think somebody may ask you about, create a redirect on your website for it. It could only benefit you. So those are the 8 tips or methods for redirects I wanted to share with you. But there are some benefits I want to go over here. And these are benefits that are beyond what I've already told you today. First of all, redirects are very easy to track. If I was to share the Logo Package Express URL with you, I would not know how many people use it. Like if I tell it to you, I don't know if you're going to use it to go visit that website. But if I share resourcefuldesigner.com/LPE20, I can track how many people use that. In fact, I can go right now and see that over 500 people have used that link since I've created it. I do the same thing with internal website links. Anytime I share a past episode with you, I tell you to visit resourcefuldesigner.com/episode and then whatever number that episode is. All of those links are trackable. So I get to see how many people are actually using the links that I share on the podcast. Now, another good thing about redirects is that you can change them should the need arise. If for some reason you want to start referring a different lawyer, I don't know, maybe something happened and you don't like Beth Jackson anymore, or maybe she moved to a different state or whatever, and you want to find a different lawyer to recommend, you can just change the redirect destination of the URL you share. So where yourdomain.com/law or lawyer used to point to Beth Jackson, you can now have it point to whatever lawyer you want. That's what I do with Resourceful Designer. If you ask for my recommendation on web hosting, I'll tell you to visit resourcefuldesigner.com/hosting, which will redirect you to SiteGround's website, which is the web host that I currently recommend. But I can tell you that before I started using SiteGround, that same URL used to point to HostGator because that's who I was using for Resourceful Designer. But I started having some issues with HostGator. Not that they're bad. I was having issues and I got fed up and I decided to switch to SiteGround. And I couldn't be happier with SiteGround. So now resourcefuldesigner.com/hosting redirects to SiteGround because I trust and stand behind their service. And someday in the future, who knows? I may decide that another hosting company is better and I can go back and change this link. And the fact that I mentioned resourcefuldesigner.com/hosting with you today, somebody in the future is listening to this episode and they go visit that URL, they may not end up on SiteGround's website. It all depends on what I set it up to be. Now, speaking of setting up, how do you actually create these redirects? Well, there are several ways to do it. Now, my preferred method is a WordPress plugin called Pretty Links. And you can get to it at resourcefuldesigner.com/prettylinks. And to show you, once again, the power of the redirect, since you use Pretty Links to create a pretty link, I set up the link using both the singular and the plural version. So both resourcefuldesigner.com/prettylinks and resourcefuldesigner.com/prettylink, without the S at the end, redirect you to the same page where you can purchase Pretty Links. Now, Pretty Links does have a free version, but I use the premium version for the extra features. They make it so easy to create the links. The free version, you have to go to a special page on the website, create it, where the premium version allows you to create the Pretty Link right on the page as you're making your post or your page. You can create the Pretty Link right there, which is so convenient. And there's a lot of tracking features and other features available in the premium. Now, there are many other redirect plugins out there, but I have no experience with any of them, so I'm not going to recommend any. But do your due diligence and research them before you choose anything. Now, you can also create redirects by adding the information to the htaccess file on your website. However, I don't recommend doing that unless you're sure of what you're doing. It's easy to break a website when messing around with the .htaccess file, and you don't want that to happen. So unless you know what you're doing, I don't recommend doing this. And of course, you can also use code. You can create a redirect using PHP or JavaScript, but those methods are beyond my abilities, so I'm not going to talk about them. As for domain redirects, where you're redirecting an entire domain and not just individual pages, most domain registrars where you register your domain names offer free redirects. If yours doesn't offer free redirects, you may want to consider a different registrar for your domains. But this is the method I use to redirect domain extensions to the one that I want to use. So for example, when I register multiple domains, the .ca, the .com, the .co, the .net, whatever, and I want to use the .com as the main extension, I will just do a domain redirect. You don't have to do individual pages at that point because there was no pages ever created on the old one. But the domain redirect is there just in case somebody types in the wrong one. Now, there are different types of redirects you can create, but for what I'm talking about today, there are really only two that you should concern yourself with, and that's the 301 and the 302 redirect. Now, a 301 redirect is considered a permanent redirect, and this indicates to the search engines that the URL has been moved permanently from its original URL to a different or new URL. You use this, the 301, when redirecting a page from, say, an old website to a new one, because the old page will never be used again, and you want all that Google juice not to pass on to the new page. Now, a 302 redirect are temporary redirects, and this indicates that the URL has temporarily moved to a different page or different location, and the original URL may be used again in the future, so don't discount or eliminate any of its Google juice. Now, temporary redirects are great for affiliate links that may change in the future, such as I mentioned my hosting link that originally changed from HostGator to SiteGround. Well, that is a temporary redirect, and someday I may change it to something else. So that's why I left it as a 302. So these are just some of the uses for page redirects. I'm sure there are many more reasons that I didn't cover today, but I wanted to cover this topic to get you at least thinking about what you could do with redirects, especially how you can build authority with them for your own brand. So I hope you'll continue to ponder this when the podcast is over. And please let me know in the comments for this episode at resourcefuldesigner.com/episode 312, and that's a redirect, by the way. Let me know if you have different uses for page redirects. I would love to hear them. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. Now, before I go, just one more quick mention about the Resourceful Designer community. If you're serious about your design business and you would love to have what I like to refer to as your own personal board of advisors helping you along the way, then the Resourceful Designer community is for you. It's a very low monthly investment that can bring you great returns. To learn more, please visit resourcefuldesigner.com/community. So that's it for me. I want to thank you for tuning in. Until next time, I am Mark Decote, wishing you all the best with your design business and reminding you to stay creative.
Thanks for listening to the Resourceful Designer Podcast at resourcefuldesigner.com.